it's funny. I love, you know, like a lot of people, I loved marching band in high school. It was the central thing that I did. It was a lot of fun. When I was looking at colleges, I really didn't pay a lot of attention to marching bands. I didn't really think about it. You know, I selected UVA because it's a great school, and I think it was after I said I was going to UVA, so spring of my high school senior year, I saw the news about the donation to found the band, and of course this was still some controversy from the pep band and what was going on there. So I just remember there were some strong reactions, but it seemed pretty exciting. I didn't think that much about it. Otherwise, you know, then the summer came. I went to UVA in the fall, and there was some information about orientation sessions that were going to be run. So I remember, you know, I'm a first year freshman, whatever, student, and I have no idea what to expect. So I remember actually it was at U-Hall, University Hall, where we used to play basketball, and I was taking like a bus there, and I remember recognizing someone who would later turn out to be Woody Wingfield. I recognized him from some high school event, and I thought he must be going to the same thing. I don't know where I'm going. So I got off the bus. I ended up following him down to where I thought the orientation session would be, only to find out that we were going to the office that Mr. Pease was using. And so I just felt a little embarrassed, like, oh, you know, hi, my name is Chris. But, you know, they were both really friendly. Mr. Pease asked me some questions about my experience, and then they told me where the session would be. So then I just remember, you know, him talking about it, and it sounded really exciting. And then I ended up doing the basketball band a little bit, because we started that in the spring of my first year. It was just before the marching band started the next year. And at that point, I was excited about the opportunity, and it sounded like fun. So I signed up. Full disclosure, I did do a few activities with the pep band. Unfortunately, by that time, they had already been banned from all the athletic events, so they still did some things before football games, and you know, everyone was very nice. It was a good group, but you know, I just did a couple things with them, and then when I heard about the marching band, you know, that sounded like that would be what I wanted to do. It was much more like high school, for example, than what the pep band did. Was very different. And I don't, you know, I knew a couple other people, like Steven Spiller had been in the pep band, and I think maybe Chris Marsh, but they, you know, were going to do the marching band too, and it seemed like it would just be a nice thing to do. Well, it was, you know, pretty time consuming, and actually I was terrified I wouldn't be able to join the band at the beginning, just because I also wrote for like the student newspaper, the Cavalier Daily, and I think the first game I signed up for basketball band, I had this story, took longer than I was thinking, and I was going past the deadline. I had to finish it up, but I ended up not being able to make it to the game, and I just thought, I've blown it. This is horrible. Like, how can you not show up? And I emailed, you know, Mr. Pease, and I apologized, and he was again very nice about it. And he said, you know, just come to the next one, and so I just felt very relieved. But yeah, it was a challenge to balance everything with, you know, everyone's really taking busy course schedules and doing other events. So it was tough, but I think in the end you make time for it. I was not a drum major in high school, and so I was very nervous about it. But I had really enjoyed being a section leader and doing that with the clarinets. That was a terrific experience. And you know, I think one or two people had mentioned, oh, I think you should think about applying. I think you would be very competitive. So at that point, I just decided it would be something I could at least try, and if it didn't work out, that'd be fine. But if it did, it was just tremendous honor to do it. So I ended up deciding to apply. I remember we had to lead the concert band, which was, and I was actually also a member of the concert band, it was not the wind ensemble. It kind of met less often, once a week. It was for people who couldn't necessarily make the full commitment to the wind ensemble, and we had to lead them in conducting a piece. And there was an interview portion. I don't remember what else there was. The main thing I remember was auditioning by conducting the concert band. I think we did a passage from the Lone Ranger, which is It was kind of funny to do, but you know, you had to lead people through it and then, you know, do a little bit of instruction, and that was pretty scary as well. But I think it went well. I think we worked really well together. I know, you know, Woody is this pillar of like excellence in everything, and he had been drum major, you know, from the start, and was just someone everyone looked up to. I know I looked up to him, and Brian, while he was, you know, younger and it was his second year that he became drum major, was just, you know, incredibly, like, just as a leader, as a player. I mean, he was so good at everything, and so I definitely, I mean, in a lot of ways I looked up to both of them, and it was they were so good that I almost felt intimidated sometimes, and so I had to tell myself, you know, just, you know, you're one of the three, and, you know, working with them to be some of the student leaders in the band. So I think, you know, I would definitely look at what they were doing and try to follow their examples in a lot of ways. But yeah, it was we had a good relationship. It's tough because I think certainly there's just a lot of stuff you need to do for each show, and in terms of knowing the music and the drill, and then at being a drum major and up there conducting, and it's just very important to be doing it well. So I think I took it pretty hard on myself, and I know a lot of people do when they make a mistake, because you don't want to let the people you're playing with down. So I think that was tough, but I think the solution is you just have to keep going, you know, and other people will pick you up, and I think it ends up working out. I think the other thing, and this was something the band was really good at, is that things could be very chaotic, very scattered, very tough, but it would just always pull together at the end. Sometimes at the very end, but at the end, it would just kind of, this sort of, everything would lock into place. And, you know, you'd say, oh, I can't believe I was worrying so much 2 hours ago, 1 day ago. This is incredible. So that's something I remember pretty well. There were some, you know, doing it in August in Charlottesville, there were definitely some hot days. We would do it at, it's funny, we had, so we didn't have as many resources and as much infrastructure, which is not to say we had plenty of resources, but, you know, with the band building now and the Cars Hill field, not having that, we would kind of sometimes practice by U-Haul in the lacrosse field. We'd go to the park, which was, I'd almost forgotten that, but that was up by like the law school. We'd practice there. And I think there's just a lot of pride when you got through like an afternoon, or really, sorry, the evening, after the evening rehearsal, because we usually did the morning and evening on the field and afternoon indoors practicing music. So just the accomplishment at like the end of a day, knowing that you know, we'd accomplished something was really nice. I will say there was one night where I think it was the year I was a drum major, I just could not fall asleep. I think we had a very early call time. You know, I was nervous about that. I was nervous about just a lot of things, and I remember just staying up the whole night and then somehow making it through the next day. And I probably should have tried to get more sleep. But they've all been fantastic directors, and have, you know, I feel like I've had good relationships with them. I think you know, they've always been very, very encouraging. They've set very high standards, but I think I just admired the drive. I worked with Mr. Cook especially a lot, and I'm very grateful for that. I think the work he does behind the scenes in a lot of ways, I think, is essential to, you know, making the band function. In working with him, I have just seen how there might be like an hour before practice, and there might be 9 things that have to be done, and I think there's no way it's possible to do them. I would even freeze up about thinking which one is going to be done first or what am I helping with, but he would just go, boom, 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 we're going to do this, here, go get this thing or figure this thing out, and he would just go through one by one calmly, but very determinedly, and he'd get them all done. It was amazing. So I think I learned a lot from that as well in terms of being able to handle just all these multiple and possibly conflicting demands and tasks, and just focusing on them like a laser and just knocking them off. I've never seen anyone better at that, and so that was both very valuable lesson and tremendous inspiration. I really liked just being there to witness that and help with that sometimes.